Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Scottalicious McFabulous, and I'm so glad that you guys could join me today. Today, I'm going to be doing something different. We are going to be reviewing the movie It Part 2, and some of Part 1. Well, probably Part 1 as well, but anyways. It Part 2. It Part 2 just came out. I don't know if anybody here has watched the original It, but I do recommend watching the original It before watching the new It because it'll make more sense. Because, like, in all honesty, if you haven't watched the other one, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's just a remake, right? So, I recommend watching the first It. That It is, like, the first, okay. The original It Part 1 is amazing. Original It Part 2 sucks. The new It Part 1 sucks. The new It Part 2, amazing. Like, just as good as the original Part 1, guys. Like, you could totally put Part 1 original and then Part 2 of the new one and make those the, like, literally, like, its own movie. Like, it's that, they're both that good. And the timelines would totally make sense as well, since that one is based in the 1980s, and it was made in the 1980s. And the new one is based in 2016, and it was made a couple years ago, or whatever. So, like, I think that's really cool. Sorry, I'm totally rambling, and y'all probably clicked already, but, like, clicked by, but for those of you who didn't. Anyway, this is a spoiler-free review. Spoiler-free. I'm not going to spoil the Part 2 at all. Well, try not to. And if I do, I will say whether I am going to or not. So please bear with me. So It Part 2, the new, I really like it. I really enjoyed it. I just seen it in theaters with my boyfriend, Camille. That was super exciting. I do have my gripes about the film, but overall, it was pretty good. I liked it. Compared to the new Part 1, we rewatched It Part 1 before we went to see the new one in theaters, just to, like, you know, catch ourselves up to see, like, you know. And Part 1 was really bad. Like, it was bad. The reenactment of Georgie dying, that scene was the best part of the whole, like, the whole Part 1 movie. And that's all. The rest of it is just kind of, like, garbage. Like, honestly, it's not that good. Like, but anyways, Part 2, it's definitely scarier. It's not, like, I don't know, I feel like the first one was kind of, like, weird. Like, the way it transformed was, like, more monstery and less scary, kind of, I guess you could say. The illusions were less scary. And there's certain parts of the remake that I don't like. It's like, girl, you couldn't have done what they did back in the 80s. You couldn't have stuck true to the original. I don't understand, guys. I don't understand. But regardless, the things that they had come up with in Part 1, complete crap. Complete crap. Watch the original It Part 1. That's the good stuff. So, it's hard to explain the movie without giving spoilers, but the only gripes I have with Part 2, the new one, is the fact that the CGI is just, when he takes shape into the scary things or whatever, some of the scary things are very poor in the CGI department. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, you couldn't have paid the extra few dollars to make it look more realistic? Like, I'm sorry, but the old Part 2, like, the original Part 2, that looked more realistic in some cases. And I'm like, how? That looked like garbage. That was trash back then. So, like, the fact that they couldn't just, like, throw a few extra dollars in to make the CGI budget a little better is kind of disappointing. And for me, it ruins immersion. But I liked it regardless. It was still decent. Still better than the original part 2, that's all I have to say. A lot of people's concerns for the new part 2 was that because they didn't have any, like, ads or anything for the giant spider or, like, the weird creepy monster at the end of the original part 2. All I will say about it is that it makes an appearance. No pun intended. Well, pun intended, actually. It makes an appearance, and it is amazing. Like, I loved it. I was, like, geeking out. I was like, oh my gosh. They did it. They fucking did it. They went balls to the walls and did it. Though, mind you, because they were mirroring the original, the story sucks. Well, like, it doesn't suck, but, like, there's certain things that they could have just, like, completely changed, and I wouldn't have batted a fucking eyelash. Not a single eyelash. I would have been like, thank you. But no. They decided to stick to the original a little more than I would have liked, especially in the part 1. Like, well, not in part 1. There's certain things in part 1 that they were like, oh, let's just completely change it. It's like, girl, no, that's why part 1 sucked. But my gripe is because the original It Part 2 was garbage. So the story and, like, the plot, it's still the same. Like, literally the exact same. Just kind of different scenes and possibly more added things in. But it's a lot to talk about. Like, but it's a lot scarier. Like, It Part 2 is a lot scarier than not the original, the new Part 1. Way better. Like, way scarier. Like, you are actually like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? Like, instead of like, oh, like, it's so, like, cliche or whatever, right? Now, another gripe I have with It Part 2, the new, is how bloody often they go back to the first movie. And it's like, if you took out all those parts, that's probably like half an hour worth of filler. And it's like, ugh, I don't want to rewatch the first one that I just watched because it sucked. I don't want to rewatch it. But I guess if somebody hasn't watched the first part, I guess it's easier for them to connect to see what's happening. So I guess they do that right. But if you're watching the second one without seeing the first one, that's kind of stupid if you ask me. It's on Netflix, y'all. It's on Netflix. So go watch the part 1 before you go see part 2. But I do recommend seeing part 2. Part 2 is good. I love it. It was so amazing. It was scary. It had me on my seat a little, out of my edge. Like, there were certain parts that were a little terrifying. But overall, it was a great movie. Besides the gripes I recently said. But other than that, amazing. Loved it. A side rant. There was a racist in the building. Oh my goodness. So there was this, I believe he was Chinese. I will say Asian because I don't want to, like, be like, oh, that's what he was. I genuinely don't know. So, an Asian couple, and the Asian man was, like, speaking a little louder, but, like, it wasn't, like, bad. And, like, the one guy behind us, he had, like, a family. It was a typical white family. Mom, dad, son, daughter, and the husband was, like, freaking out. And he was being extremely racist. And I was just like, I think once he noticed me, like, taking, like, an eye to it, like, he was, like, he just stopped talking. Like, he just stopped trying to, like, tell the man to, like, shut up or whatever. Like, he was being very rude. And, like, he was, like, when the Asian man would start speaking, he would go up to him, like, go right behind him and be like, and it's like, are you really trying to mock him right now? You racist fuck. Get the fuck out. Like, I was triggered. Speaking of being triggered, the beginning of It Part 2, the new, guys, spoiler time. I'm gonna talk about this because this needs to be talked about. I did not like it. Well, I liked it, but, like, it was very unnecessary. Like, there was no point in it. There was no fucking point in it. It advanced the plot in absolutely no way. So I was like... Anyway, spoiler time. I'm going to speak about it right now. If you don't want to hear it, click out. So, They start the opening scene at a carnival. A gay couple at a carnival, okay? And one of the boyfriends win the shooting contest, and he actually gives the little girl his prize because she was upset she didn't win. And that was so, I was like, oh my god, yes. But, like, you had no idea they were gay yet. So I was like, oh, that's, like, really sweet. And then, like, you find out he's gay, and it's like, oh, okay. So one of the children in the previous movie, It Part 1, grew up gay. Like, okay, I'm okay with that change. Like, I'm thinking maybe they're, like, gonna change it up like they did with the new Part 1. So I was like, okay, awesome. Nope. It was just a random gay couple, and then there was a bunch of homophobes and racists sitting on a bench, and they were, like, threatening him, and the one sassy gay guy, that would have been me, but I would have said something a lot worse. I probably would have got beat up right there. Well, in this case, murdered. Yes, both of the gay people get fucking murdered. Both of them. It's the most, like, why? I mean, like, it's not even, like, just, like, oh, they just die. Like, no. They get, like, the F word is thrown out. F-A-G, yeah, the whole word, like, a bundle of sticks. It was being repeatedly said. Like, I was, like, and, like, you could notice in the back, like, all the people around me did not care. They did not care. I was the only one that was kind of, like, me and my boyfriend were kind of like, that was pointless. Like, it couldn't, like, it had to be, like, a gay couple. They tend to do that a lot. They try to be inclusive, but, like, it's not really being inclusive if you're just, like, killing the characters off every time. Where's the point in it? It could have been just a normal straight couple. And even then, I don't know. Anyway. So, they call them derogatory comments and stuff, and they end up, like, gang beating them, and, like, I don't mean just, like, gang beating, like, it's very graphic. It's very graphic. Very unnecessary. This whole thing was unnecessary. I just found it very triggering, and I was, like, not, like, triggering to the point where I was like, oh my god, but, like, I was like, come on. Like, of course, you have to just kill the gay people, like, why? And then, like I said, it advanced the plot absolutely nowhere. Like, I get it was just a random couple, and it's just, like, supposed to introduce that, like, it's back. Like, it was in the killing, like, eventually, because they throw the feminine boyfriend into a river to let him die, but then it catches him and kills it. It kills him. So, but, like, regardless of which, like, it's just, we could have went the whole movie without seeing that whole homophobic scene. I did not like it. I guess they were trying to, like, recreate what times were like back then, but, like, we don't need to be reminded. We don't want to be reminded. Like, that shit still happens. Like, if anything, you're just kind of low-key encouraging it. But anyway, so eventually, if you watched Part 2, the originals, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched It Part 2, the new, like I said, they mirror each other. So Bev, the redheaded girl, I believe, I think that's her name, Beverly, whatever. The main character girl in the first one, in It Part 1 new, she's, like, the redheaded teenage girl with the curly hair, and she, like, had long hair, cut her hair off because her dad, whatever. So, in It Part 2, like, both of them, she has a very abusive boyfriend, and he ends up punching her out, like, punching her very hard in the face. And I shit you not that the whole fucking audience gasped. And I was like, what the hell? What the hell? Y'all are triggered about the woman being beat, but who cares about the gay man being killed for no fucking reason? Fuck you. I was pissed. I was so mad. I was like, okay, fuck these homophobes, fuck these misogynistic racists, like, fuck these people. Fuck them. I'm angry. Goodbye. Like, I was triggered, y'all. But anyway, before this video gets too long, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much for tuning in for my surprise video. Hopefully you found my non-spoiler review helpful and my spoiler review helpful. I try to limit all spoilers whatsoever. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. It helps my YouTube channel a whole lot. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. I will see you tomorrow with a surprise guest video.